Hey y'all, Christy here. It is Saturday, December 17th, 2022, and I am hopping on to make my video. This will actually be my second video, and you'll see later on in the video that I had to piece it together because it stopped recording. And then the first time I had like a 35-minute video put together and I didn't save it. I deleted it by accident. So, yay, happy Saturday. Um, I it's been crazy. It seems like I've been staring at my camera for the past hour because, I made those mistakes and, I laughed at them. I wanted to at first like get mad and cry and think, oh my gosh, now that I do it all over again. But, like I'm learning that that doesn't solve anything. So, I just kind of took a deep breath and regrouped and figured out how to piece it together. So sorry about that. It's going to be pieced together. But today, my quote is going to be from Napoleon Hill. This is the book that I'm reading now, How to Own Your Own Mind. And the quote that I chose, which is very simple but very powerful: you can do it if you believe you can. And that's half the battle. It's just believing in yourself and, not doubting and not letting fear suppress that belief. But yesterday we were talking about blockages and how in your heart that get triggered by experiences and how you have these blockages put here and you don't realize them until you experience something and then it's triggered, and it could be an emotion like fear, jealousy or anger or sadness or rejection or loneliness, and you experience something in the day and it triggers that, and your all your thoughts go to a place in the past or an experience in the past, and how you get consumed in that and you lose your sense of self, and you don't experience life anymore, and you kind of get like that tunnel vision, and 5 minutes could pass, an hour could pass, or a whole year could pass, and you were just so consumed in that experience and that prior thought that life just kind of went on, and then before you know it, a year's passed. And I've experienced that before, where you wonder where the time is gone because you're too focused on something that, or protecting yourself from that thing that hurt you the most, or that emotion that you don't want to experience. But like I said, yesterday, I was going to touch on the chapter about removing your inner thorn. And I'm going to go ahead and get into it because it's really deep. And like I said, I wanted to read it word for word and not paraphrase it because it doesn't do it justice. And you don't get to truly experience it if I'm leaving out certain parts. So that's why I'm taking the time to read it. I don't want to bore you, but it's important to read it word for word so that you get the true experience that it's trying to present to you. And so let's do story time Saturday. Okay, so the spiritual journey is one of constant transformation. In order to grow, you must give up the struggle to remain the same and learn to embrace the change at all times. One of the most important areas requiring change is how we solve our personal problems. We normally attempt to solve our inner disturbances by protecting ourselves. Me, my number one go to thing. we normally Real transformation begins when you embrace your problems as an agent for growth. In order to understand how this process works, let's examine the following situation. And that thing prior to this, that where it said, you need to embrace your problems as agents for growth, that is so completely true, because we always think bad things that happened or problems in the past are just bad experiences and we don't want to think about them. But your failures and your past problems, you know, have taught you something. You learn something from them and you grow from them. So they should be embraced, and welcomed sometimes, because if you don't experience them, how are you going to learn, or how are you going to grow? So it's just kind of changing your mind frame and mindset and looking at them through different lenses. Um, okay, so imagine that you have a thorn in your arm that directly touches a nerve. When the thorn is touched, it's very painful because it hurts so much. The thorn is a serious problem. It's difficult to sleep because you roll over on it. It's hard to get close to people because they might touch it. It makes your daily life very difficult. You can't even go for a walk in the woods because you might brush the thorn against the branches. This thorn is a constant source of disturbance, and to solve the problem, you only have two choices. Okay, let's begin with the first choice and explore how it will affect your life. If you decide you have to keep things from touching the thorn, then that becomes the work of a lifetime. If you want to go for a walk in the woods, you'll have to thin out the branches to make sure you don't brush against them. Since you often roll over and touch the thorn when you sleep, you'll have to find a solution for that as well. Perhaps you design an apparatus that acts as a protective device. If you really put a lot of energy into it and your solutions seem to work, you would think that you have solved your problem. You'd say, I can sleep now. And guess what? I got to go on TV to give a testimonial. Anybody who has a thorn problem can get my protective device and I can get paid royalties. Okay, pacifying the problem. So now you've got a whole life built around this thorn and you're proud of it. You keep the woods thinned out and you wear the apparatus to bed at night. But now you have a new problem. You fell in love. This is a problem because in your situation, it's hard to even hug. Nobody can touch you because they might touch the thorn. So you design another kind of device that allows closeness amongst people without actually touching. Eventually, you decide you want total mobility without having to worry about the thorn anymore. So you make a full time device that doesn't have to be unstrapped at night or changed over for hugging and other daily activities. Okay, so it's heavy. So you put wheels on it, control it with hydraulics, and install collision sensors. It's actually quite an impressive device. Of course, you had to change the doors in the house so that the protective apparatus could get through. But at least now you can live your life. You can go to work, go to sleep, and get close to people. So you announce to everyone, I've solved my problem. I'm a free being. I can go anywhere I want. I can do anything I want. This thorn used to run my life. Now it doesn't run anything. Okay, good way to think about it. The truth is, the thorn completely runs your entire life. It affects all your decisions, including where you go, whom you're comfortable with, and who's comfortable with you. It determines where you're allowed to work, what house you can live in, and what kind of bed you can sleep on at night. When it's all said and done, that thorn is running every aspect of your life. It turns out that the life of protecting yourself from your problem becomes a perfect reflection of the problem itself. You didn't solve anything. If you don't solve the root of the problem, but instead attempt to protect yourself from the problem, it ends up running your life. True, true, and true. You end up psychologically fixated on the problem that you can't see the forest for the trees. You don't see anything for anything. You actually feel that because you've minimized the pain of the problem, you've solved the problem, but it's not solved. All you did was devote your life to avoiding it. It's now the center of your universe. It's all there is. Mind blowing. Very clear that a little too clear, a little too real. How many of us are guilty of that? I know I am, designing my life around things that bother me and avoiding them so that I don't have to feel those things. Hence why I'm on this journey. Okay, in order to apply the analogy of a thorn to your whole life, it's going to actually ask us to look at an emotion, loneliness. Let's say you have a very deep sense of inner loneliness. It's so deep that you have trouble sleeping at night, and during the day, it makes you very sensitive. You're susceptible to feeling sharp pains in your heart that cause quite a disturbance. You have trouble staying focused on your job, and you have trouble with everyday interactions. What's more, when you're very lonely, it's often painfully difficult to get close to people. You see, loneliness is just like the thorn. It causes pain and disturbance in all aspects of your life. But in the case of the human heart, we have more than one thorn. So true. We have sensitivities about loneliness, about rejection, about our physical appearance, and about our mental prowess. We are walking around with lots of thorns touching right against the most sensitive parts of our hearts. At any moment, something can touch them and cause pain inside. So true. This was at first just talking about one single thorn in your arm, but in reality, it gave you a bigger picture that you walk around with multiple thorns in your heart, that it's not just one thing that you're focused on. You have several things that, cause you pain. And it says, okay, so you have the same two choices. This is, still talking about loneliness with the inner thorns as you did with the thorn in your arm. Surely it was obvious that you would have been better off taking out that thorn. There's no reason to spend your life protecting the thorn from getting touched when you can just remove it. Once the thorn is removed, you're truly free of it. The same is true with your inner thorns, they can be removed. But if you choose to keep them without being disturbed by them, you will modify your life to avoid the situations that would stir them up. That was me. If you're lonely, you must avoid going to places where couples tend to be. If you're afraid of rejection, one of mine, you avoid getting too close to people. If you do this, however, it's for the same reason that you thinned out the woods. You're attempting to adjust your life to make allowance for your thorns. In the early example, the thorns were outside. Now they're on the inside. Let's get deep. When you're lonely, you find yourself pondering what to do about your loneliness. What is it that you can say or do in order to not feel so lonely? Notice that you aren't asking how to get rid of the problem. You're asking how to protect yourself from feeling it. You do this either by avoiding situations or by using people, places, and things as protective shields. You're going to end up just like the person with the thorn. The loneliness will run your entire life. You'll marry the person who makes you feel less lonely, and you'll think it's natural and normal. But it's exactly the same as the person who is avoiding the pain of the thorn instead of taking it out. You have not removed the root of loneliness. You have only attempted to protect yourself from feeling it. Should someone die or leave you, the loneliness would disturb you again. The problem will be back the moment the external situation fails to protect you from what's inside. If you do not remove the thorn, you'll end up responsible for both the thorn and everything you pulled around yourself in an attempt to avoid it. Should you be fortunate enough to find someone who manages to diminish the feeling of loneliness, you will then begin worrying about keeping your relationship with this person. You manage to compound the issue by avoiding the problem. This is exactly the same as using the apparatus to compensate for the thorn. You just have to adjust your life accordingly. The minute you allow the core problem to stay, it expands out into multiple problems. It wouldn't dawn on you just to get rid of it. Instead, the only solution you see is to try avoid feeling it. Now you have no choice but to go out and fix everything that affects it. There's that fixing again. You have to worry about how you dress and how you talk. You have to worry about what people think of you because that could affect your feeling of loneliness or need for love. If someone is attracted to you and this eases your feeling of loneliness, you wish you could say, how do I need to act in order to please you? I can be any way you want. I just don't want to feel these periods of loneliness anymore. You now have this burden of worrying about the relationship. It creates an experience of underlying tension and discomfort, and it can even affect the way you sleep at night. So here's that one emotion, running your life. The truth is, however, the discomfort you experience isn't actually the feeling of loneliness. It's the never ending thought of, did I say the right thing? Does she really like me? Or am I just kidding myself? The root problem is now buried under all of these shallower issues that are all about avoiding the deeper ones. It gets very complicated. People end up using their relationship to hide their thorns. If you care for each other, you're expected to adjust your behavior to avoid bumping into each other's soft spots. This is what people do. They let the fear of their inner thorns affect their behavior. They end up limiting their lives just like someone living with an external thorn. Unfortunately, if there's something disturbing inside of you, you have to make the choice. You can compensate for the disturbance by going outside in an attempt to avoid feeling it, or you can simply remove the thorn and not focus your life around it. Do not doubt your ability to remove the root cause of the disturbance inside you. It really can go away. You can look deep within yourself to the core of your being and decide that you don't want the weakest part uh, of you running your life. You want to be free of this. Me. That's why I've done this journey and continue to go down it. You want to talk to people because you find them interesting, not because you're lonely. You want to have relationship with people you genuinely like, not because you need for them to like you. You want to love because you truly love, not because you need to avoid your inner problems. How do you free yourself? In the deepest sense, you free yourself by finding yourself. You are not the pain you feel, nor are you the part that periodically stresses out. None of these disturbances have anything to do with you. You're simply the person who notices them. Because your consciousness is separate and aware of these things, you can free yourself. To free yourself of your inner thorns, you simply stop playing with them. The more you touch them, the more they irritate you. Because you're always doing something to avoid feeling them, they are not given the chance to naturally work themselves out. If you want, you can simply permit the disturbances to come up and you can let them go. Since your inner thorns are simply blocked energies from the past, they can be released. The problem is, you either completely avoid situations that will cause them to release, or you push them back down in the name of protecting yourself. So very true. Very, very true. You avoid, I would avoid things that would trigger these things altogether or just push them back down when I felt them instead of confronting them. All right, so let's go now to finish this off. Suppose you're sitting at home watching TV. You're enjoying the program until the two main characters fall in love. Suddenly you feel loneliness, but there's no one around you to give you attention. Interestingly, you were fine just a few minutes ago. This example shows that the thorn is always in your heart. It's just not activated until something touches it. You feel the reaction as a hollowness or a dropping sensation in your heart. It feels very uncomfortable. A sense of weakness comes over you, and you begin thinking about other times when you were left alone and of people who have hurt you. Stored energy from the past releases from the heart and generates thoughts. Those thoughts again. Now, instead of enjoying TV, you're sitting alone, caught in a wave of thoughts and emotions. What can you do to solve this besides eating something, calling somebody, or doing something else that might quiet it down? What can you do is notice that you've noticed it. You can notice that your consciousness was watching TV, and now it's watching your inner melodrama. The one who sees this is you, the subject. What are you looking at is an object. A feeling of emptiness is just an object. It's just something you feel. But who feels it? Your way out is just to notice who's noticing. It's really that simple. It is much less complex than the protective apparatus with all its ball bearings, wheels, and hydraulics. All you have to do is notice who it is that feels the loneliness. The one who notices is already free. If you want to be free of these energies, you must allow them to pass through you instead of hiding them inside of you, which is very, very, very deep. Ever since you were a child, you had energies going on inside. Wake up and realize that you are in there and you have a sensitive person in there with you. Simply watch the sensitive part of you feel disturbance. See it feel jealousy, need, and fear. These feelings are perfectly are just per sorry. These feelings are just part of the nature of a human being. If you pay attention, you will see that they are not you. They're just something you're feeling and experiencing. You are the inner being that is aware of all of this. If you maintain your center, you can learn to appreciate and respect even difficult experiences. You notice that you notice. Watch how you're experiencing lonely. Watch how experiencing loneliness affects you. Does your posture change? Do you breathe slower or faster? What goes on when loneliness is given the space it needs to pass through you? Be an explorer. Witness it, and then it will go. If you don't get absorbed in it, the experience will soon pass and something else will come up. Just enjoy all of it. If you can do this, you will be free and a world of pure energy will open up. Okay. So, pretty much it's saying figure out what it feels like when that trigger is touched. Experience it. Don't avoid it. Don't push it away. Just experience it and then let it go. And it doesn't say you have to get rid of that feeling, but in that moment you have to feel it and then let it go. Like it says, you don't have to get rid of loneliness. You just cease to be involved with it. It's just another thing in the universe, like cars, grass, and the stars. It's none of your business. Just let things go. That's what the self does. Awareness does not fight. Awareness releases. Awareness is simply aware while everything in the universe parades before it. If you sit within the self, you will experience the strength of your inner being, even when your heart feels weak. This is the essence of the path. This is the essence of a new life. Once you learn that it's okay to feel inner disturbances and that they can no longer disturb your seat of consciousness, you will be free. You will begin to be sustained by the inner flow of energy that comes from behind you. When you have tasted the ecstasy of the inner flow, you can walk in this world and the world will never touch you. That's how you become free. You transcend. Deep, 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 very deep. And that's pretty much what I've been doing. You know, I've been allowing myself to experience triggers that are brought up by anything that I experienced or experience. And like I said yesterday, it's very liberating and you feel alive when you actually are accepting and welcoming these feelings and you're letting them go and they're not holding you hostage and you're not building your life to either protect yourself from them or avoid experiencing certain things that would trigger them. And it takes a lot of worry and stress away because you're not having to plan things out ahead of time. So you're, to avoid those emotions and those experiences that trigger those emotions, you don't have to think about things and focus generally so generalized that you completely avoid life or your focus is so narrow that you're not aware of what's going on around you because you're too busy protecting yourself from those emotions and those feelings that you're not truly living. You're living in your bubble or your box, which, I have said I've done. And, I've exposed the box and the feelings, and now I'm just unpacking it, like I said, peeling it layer by layer and confronting them and dealing with them. And that's what I've been doing, and I continue to do. But it's very rewarding and liberating at the same time because you're truly experiencing life as it goes by, as it comes. And you're not worried about what comes up because you're just going to experience and be in the moment and live it. And like this book goes on towards the end, that you need to remember that you're living on borrowed time. Tomorrow's not promised. And it's not guaranteed. And, death can be around the corner. No one knows for certain unless you've been told that, you only have so long left. But the book also goes on to tell you that you need to live life, live each day like it's your last. There shouldn't be regrets, or you shouldn't have to say, well, I need to wait until this is taken care of before I can do this. No, you just live in the moment. There should be no plans, for the future because you don't know what the future brings. And like I said, if you want to eat something, eat it. If you want to wear something, wear it. Stop waiting because you're not living in the moment and you're not experiencing truly what's going on around you because you're too focused on something else. And that's what I've been trying to do, is live in the moment. And whatever happens, and whatever will be. And enjoying it and stop avoiding things. And also, the book goes on to also tell you about stop trying to be a critic or a judge of everything, just love everything. It, appreciate someone else's opinions or differences and stop trying to make them conform to what you think is acceptable or appropriate. Just enjoy the beauty of the world and the beauty in people and how they choose to express themselves and not put too much thought into it. Just experience it. And that's what I try to do. And that's what I'm going to continue to do until it becomes the part of me that in my subconscious mind that I don't ever have to think about it anymore, that I truly am enjoying everything as it presents itself. And I'm not trying to change it or rationalize it or think about it, that I'm just appreciating it. And, hopefully, it happens sooner than later, but I am taking active steps every single day to live my life that way. And like I said, it truly feels good because you're living your life and you're not planning or stressing or worrying about something that can bring up an emotion that you may not want to feel. And you're not protecting yourself. You're not living your life on the defense, You're just actively going and participating in your life. You're playing the offense. So, anyways, that's enough for today. Tomorrow, if I do my post, it's going to be about stealing freedom for your soul. And like I said, I'm going to be living life in the moment. And tomorrow is going to be Tailgate Sunday fun day with the family at the Texans game. So hopefully I'll try and get on early and get my video posted and see what tomorrow brings. Remember, you are great. You're important. You matter. Your feelings matter. Your happiness matters. Your joy matters. You are important, and don't let anyone tell you you aren't. You've got to believe in yourself and believe that you matter. That's the hardest thing, is convincing yourself. And stop letting your life be ran by thoughts and emotions. Be present. you know Life's beautiful, and like I said, it's not promised, so don't take it for granted. Become a champion. Delete regrets, hit reset, and unleash your new mindset. I will see y'all tomorrow.